How we doing, people? Welcome back to Jimmy Case TV and A Case for the Blues. I'm Case, and today we're going to be doing another transfer window roundup of all the news surrounding the club over the past week or so. We'll be touching base on some rival clubs and some players that have been moving around in this market. We're on about week 7 of the transfer market being open since the Club World Cup had started, and again this week was another active week with a lot of things going on. So before we get going, if you could please leave a like on the video, trust me, it's very much appreciated. It does go a long way. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I have reached my target of 150 before the season starts, so very, very happy about that. And thank you for the people that have obviously subscribed. Appreciate it. And now we're moving on to the next target. Slowly but surely we'll make this channel grow, but we're trying to hit 200 now before Christmas. So if you're new to the channel, hit the sub button. And if you like gaming, there's some gaming content on there as well. Now, back to the transfers. And before we start, we've always got to do the usual. I'm not an ITK, in the know, as they say. I don't have any special links to any clubs, special sources feeding me breaking news, etc. about players moving here or there. So it won't be no breaking news situation. What we'll be doing is literally talking about all the news that has been circling around on social media, in the news, newspapers, people talking to face, etc, etc, etc. Now, I do always say that about 95% of transfer rumours are just rumours. There's no concrete base behind it. So we'll try and decipher that, and I'll let you know which ones I think are worth talking about. Now, getting started with Chelsea straight away, the first ones we are going to talk about are the ones where I don't really think there's going to be much movement. Now, to be fair, this week, in terms of who Chelsea have been linked with, it's been quite quiet. Normally, we're linked to loads and loads of players during the week. Obviously, we've got the two main priorities that Chelsea are focusing on. That's Gerald Hato and Xavi Simons. We'll talk about them later. But there's been two names in particular that I don't really feel this is going to go anywhere. That's Donnarumma. Again, that's been popping up today because his contract negotiations have stalled. In my opinion, that means that he's asking for quite a big wage. PSG do not want to pay it. So does that mean that we're going to pay it? Absolutely not. Chelsea fans obviously are linking us with the player. I don't think there's any concrete backing behind this. I think this is Chelsea fans trying to put it out there, trying to create a rumour, because obviously we want him. Who wouldn't? He's a good goalkeeper. But he's obviously asking for bigger wages. And with our wage structure, I can't see that being something that we'd entertain. I can't see it, if I'm honest with you. Although PSG have signed a goalkeeper today, that Lucas Chevalier from Lille, I believe it is, for 40 million euros. So maybe Donnarumma is on his way out, but no doubt that these links were going to pop up with Chelsea. We did see Enzo Maresca, putting an arm around him just after the Club World Cup, whispering in his ear, wonder what he was saying to him. But for me, I just think this guy is going to be on big wages, and I don't know whether we are going to match that, or I don't know how he would fit into the wage structure. I don't know what wages he's on. That's something I haven't checked. Maybe he is on low wages. I don't know. Something I don't think he is. So let's see how that one develops. I can see that throughout the week we'll probably see more links to Donnarumma coming out because of his current situation, and it could be another ploy to try and get him the contract that he wants. Another one out there that apparently we put a bid in for is Kenan Yildiz. Brilliant player. If you've watched this player, very silky. I like this player. One that I said that we should be linked with before we went in for Jamie Gittins. Another left winger. Now, I'd imagine that we are going in for him because we do need backup in that scenario. We're looking at getting rid of Sterling. Mudryk's obviously on a ban. Never know when he's coming back. We've got rid of Noni Madueke. Tyreek George, I can't see getting many minutes next season. Again, I could probably see him going out on loan. So we've got Jamie Gittins. We're looking at that left-hand side thinking, okay, we might need some backup here. So apparently we put in a 65 to 68 million euro bid, and Juventus turned it down and basically said he's not for sale. Now, I don't think this one's going to happen because I think this Kenan Yildiz guy is going to be valued about 100 million, maybe next season, because he's such a good player. So Juventus obviously is sticking to their guns, saying, nope, not for sale. There's obviously some value in this player. He's one of our better players. So they're sticking their heels in the ground and saying, no, Chelsea, back off. Which I understand. Now, if we were carried on and bid more for him, I don't mind that. You know, we've got Morgan Rogers rumours in the background. I haven't really heard much about that recently. Obviously, there's talks about a switch deal coming into play if certain other transfers come about. So, depending on what we can do, if we can put a £65 million bid or a €65 million bid in for Yildiz and save ourselves from spending £80 million on a Morgan Rogers, it makes sense. And obviously there's some value in Yildiz, so I kind of understand why we're going for this player. Do I think it's going to happen? No, unfortunately. So moving on now to the other concrete links. Now there's one name in here that just does not seem to go away. Now a lot of Chelsea fans are not happy about this rumour at all, and it's understandable because he stunk the place out at this football team last year, and that's Alexandre Garnacho. Not many Chelsea fans want him. Speaking to some Chelsea fans, they've said, you know what, the guy's still got this. There's still a player in there, so I wouldn't mind it as long as we sign him on a low fee. And a lot of people are saying, no, don't bother going there. This player is whack. It'll be a waste of money, and just don't go there. He comes with a lot of negativity. He's got a mad ego, and his brother in the background is always a bit of a problem. But he's coming from a toxic place. This is the one thing that I'd say. He's coming from a very toxic place. You've seen fans getting onto him before the games. Obviously, you should be able to take that criticism as a professional player, in my opinion. And fans should be able to say to them, listen, you need to improve. But all of these things rolled into one. He's coming from a very toxic place, and his brother's had enough of it, and he's defending his brother. So you can see why they're doing that, but at the same time, you don't need that ag in that scenario when that place is where it is. So could he be a bit of a troublemaker? Has he got a crazy ego? Yes. I mean, we just got rid of Noni Madueke, who I thought had a very big ego. Pause. Ego to the max, you know what I'm saying? He really believed in himself, which I don't mind. I don't mind that nonsense. Like, think you're the best player on the pitch, that's good, but back it up as well. So getting rid of Noni, a lot of people didn't like that. I was a fan of Noni, so I'm not disrespecting Noni at all, but getting rid of that to then bring someone back in of the same ilk, is that going to be a positive move for Chelsea? Who knows? Do I think he's a player? I still think there's a player in there. Remember his overhead kick at one goal of the season, the Puskas Award, whatever it was. Ridiculous goal. You see him cut in and whip one in all the time. He's still got that in him. Is he good at taking his player on? No, but confidence plays a massive part in footballers' careers. And you've seen it with the Chelsea squad. When the confidence was low, none of us were playing well. When the confidence is high, look at us, we're beating PSG 3-0. So, taking him out of that environment, bringing him to Chelsea, if we can get him on the cheap, I'm talking 30, 40 million, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have a problem with that. I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have a problem with that. If we're talking in the realms of anything over 40 million, 45, 50, 60, 60 is the figure that I've heard. If we're talking anything about £60 million, I'm starting to think, nah, I'm not keen on that at all. Anyway, moving on, we go back to the two main priorities that Chelsea have been focused on, and now that's pretty much it for Chelsea news as well. Jarrell Hato and Xavi Simons are the two main links that we've seen this past week or so. Club to club talks have taken place. We're now in the advanced stage, as Fabrizio Romano keeps tweeting every single day, we're advancing. Basically, that's his way of saying he hasn't got any updates. So he'll just put out a tweet saying, they're advanced into the next stage. How many stages is there involved in doing a transfer deal? You either get the player or you don't. How do they know? Does he ring them up and go, how are you getting on? They ring him back and go, we've now advanced into the next stage. What stage is that? The next one. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make no sense to me, these tweets that keep coming out about us advancing. So unless there's a little ticker that's just showing where the deal's nearly there before it's done, the reality is he hasn't got an update for the situation. But I've seen news that Chelsea board are actually doing face-to-face conversations with the owners of these clubs rather than doing dealings with agents, etc., trying to get these deals over the line. I've read that Hato has already agreed personal terms. They're discussing a €40 million fee. and Ajax are trying to hold out for a little bit more. I think they're going to try and push the £40 million fee rather than Euro fee. But this one looks like it's already done, in my opinion. And I think he'll be a good addition to the squad. You shouldn't do it, and I say this all the time, shouldn't do it, but I do it. I've looked at a couple clips, and he does look like a good defender. He's obviously very young. I don't expect him to be starting week in, week out. But yeah, obviously very positive. Like I said before on my other streams, he's got a very good support behind him. He's got Virgil van Dijk bigging him up, telling him that this guy's very good. So, he's obviously a very good prospect for the future. So let's look out for this one. Xavi Simons, obviously, we all know a little bit more than anyone else out of all of these youngsters that we've been signing. Interest heating up as of Wednesday. We advanced in talks as of Wednesday, and every day since we've heard this, we're advancing. So again, no update on what's happening, but the rumours are these deals are done, they're sealed. Apparently both players want Chelsea, they want to join the project, which is very positive for us, of course. And these ones should be getting over the line within the next week or so. So that's really it for Chelsea. I'm not going to lie, in terms of incomings. Now, we've had a very busy week for outgoings and players that have been linked with moves away. One player, Andre Santos, has had links with Inter Milan today. They inquired about the player. Now, for me, I don't think we should be looking to offload this player in any capacity, whether it's a loan deal or a straight signing or a sell, we shouldn't, because we've got Lavia, who's been proven to be very injury prone. I know we've got Esugu that's come in to be his replacement, but at the same time, Enzo Fernandez is there. I think he's going to need a little bit more rest this season than what he's had recently. Santos has come in and played in the Club World Cup, and I think he showed his capabilities. I don't think he looked out of place. I thought he looked comfortable out there. Obviously, he's not, the full package just yet, but I think he needs some game time within this system that Enzo Maresca is trying to get him involved into. I don't think sending him out on loan right now is probably the best thing to do. Now, if we are bringing in a Xavi Simons, for example, then I am expecting us to offload a few other players, whether that be your João Felix, that who we'll get onto in a minute, whether that's your Nkunku's. This signing from Xavi Simons will probably be a, one that can come in and fill in for an Enzo Fernandez or a Cole Palmer. So there is that option there as well. But I do think we still need that squad depth, because I don't think we can rely on Lavia, which is a shame. So Andre Santos one linked away with the club, but I don't think that's going to happen, if I'm honest with you. I don't think we're going to entertain that, so let's watch out for that one. Josh Akpom, admired by Bournemouth apparently. Now, I've seen this last week as well. This link continues to be there. Now, for me, if it's a loan deal, I think that'll be a good move for the boy. He'll get a lot more game time, and especially Bournemouth, I think they're losing their centre-backs. Obviously, they've lost Huijsen. I think they're losing their other centre-back. I can't remember who that one is, though. So this will be a good move for him, because he'll definitely get some minutes. And then obviously his value will look to increase. Now, depending on what the club want to do with him, whether this is a flip situation, maybe. But if not, it works in both ways. We send him out on loan, he improves, or he improves his value. So I think this will be a good deal for Chelsea, and I think it will be good for the player to get their minutes under his belt. Another one is Mark Gray. Open the doors for a loan move away, but no buy option. That's what Chelsea are saying. They're open for people to come in and put a loan bid in, preferably in the Premier League, but they don't want anybody buying him. So obviously we still value the player, and we're just trying to get him some more game time. And let's see nothing concrete. I haven't seen any teams interested, but let's see what comes out on that one. Another player, Chukwuemeka, who has been linked with RB Leipzig. Obviously, with us trying to sign Xavi Simons, they're looking at Chukwuemeka potentially being bought after that. And they're talking about potential deals that they can do. And also, Dortmund are still floating around with this player, but I just don't think they're trying to buy the player for what we want to sell him for. So they're trying to get a knockoff deal. Again, nothing concrete yet, just interest. I haven't seen any figures floating around, so one to watch out for again. Over the past week, we would have seen Viega linked to Atletico Madrid. Now, this looked like a deal that was going to go ahead. We're talking a £35 million deal for him to join Atletico Madrid, but the transfer got put on hold midway through the week, and since then they've gone and signed David Hancho because he's a cheaper alternative. So Viega, obviously linked with a couple of other clubs, doesn't seem to be going anywhere soon just yet. So let's see where that one develops. Obviously, he was linked to Juventus. Again, they didn't want to pay the fee. A lot of clubs are saying that we're overvaluing our players. Bullshit. These players, I think, are valued at what they're valued at. Especially Juventus, they got a good deal out of him last year with a loan, and then they got a good, they got a good player there. So they need to pay out the money. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, we can put a bid into Yildiz. Maybe we can look at Viega's situation there. Just an option. Another player that's been linked away and is pushing for a move away now. I'm not going to lie, I completely dislike this player now. I actually used to like this player, but this is João Felix. I just think this guy is just, he does, wherever he goes, he's always pushing for a move for somewhere else. This guy is just collecting signing on fees. That's all he's doing. Because all he does is try and push for a move wherever he goes. When he goes to AC Milan, he says he loves the place. He wants to stay here. Then he's talking about going to Benfica. He wants to go to Benfica. The guy, everywhere he goes, talks about loving the place, wanting to stay there. La-di-da-di-da. Just get rid of this guy. I'm fed up with him now. I actually thought he was a good player. I actually thought he'd done all right at Chelsea when he come back. He did all right. I don't think he played enough under Maresca. Don't necessarily think that's João Felix's fault. I think that was Maresca's, but it's just the talking. It's just too much. It's like, if you don't want to be here, mate, off you go. So apparently Benfica are looking at spending 25 million for 50% of his economic rights. Now, I didn't really understand this to begin with, but I was pretty sure that I've heard of this before. Now, when I used to play Championship Manager back in the day, I swear this was a thing where clubs used to own half of the players, and I always thought that this wasn't allowed. So basically, essentially what it is Benfica will buy half the player, essentially allowing them to register him and play. They'll contribute to his wages, also paying the fee, which will be the 25 million. But what it also means is that when he's sold, they'll also have to fork out 50% of the transfer fee, and Chelsea will also hold on to 50% of his image rights. So the deal really is not bad for Chelsea. We get 25 million up front. We are trying to ask for the same fee that we bought him off Atletico Madrid for. I don't think Benfica are going to push for that, but apparently it's only 13 million. So it must have been 38 million that we got him for. I thought it was a lot more than that. I thought it was 60, I'm not going to lie, but that might have included the add-ons. So we're trying to push to get that fee. But when you think about it, 25 million, then we're earning money off his image rights, and then if they sell him again, we'll get 50% of that fee as well. So, that could work out in the long term, quite a good deal for us. Another player linked with a move away is Raheem Sterling. Obviously, this one, we've been trying to offload him for the last 2 seasons now. We sent him on loan to Arsenal last season. Hasn't worked out here. Now, do you know what? I'm actually disappointed in Sterling. I'm not going to lie, because when he first come to the club, I was thinking, this guy has been brilliant. He's had a fantastic career. We're signing someone with a bit of experience, with know-how of how to win the league, win cups. He's been in the winning team at Man City. And it just didn't work out for him. It was very underwhelming. I kind of feel like we got the Sterling at the end of his, at the end of his career where he's dipping, or it just didn't work with the system that Chelsea play. But I mean, he goes to Arsenal and he does nothing there as well. So it's like, I feel sorry for the guy, because he's had a very, very good career, and it just feels like it's slowly dying out. And he might be one of these players that end up playing elsewhere in another league, seeing out his last days of his career, when it should really, from the career that he's had, you'd want him to be staying in the Premier League. But, he's been playing from a very, very young age, and this is what happens to players that start off very early. And it is what it is. He's been linked with Napoli. I've seen him linked with Besiktas, and now he's linked with Bayern Leverkusen. So one to watch out for, but no matter what happens, what I have read is that we are probably going to have to subsidise his wage. Obviously, he's on big wages, and these clubs just don't want to pay his wage. And if we want to get rid of him, that's what we're going to have to do, unfortunately. Now, I think Fulham have come up today as a potential club that he might be moving to. So let's just see how that pans out over the next week or so. Another name also that Fulham have been interested in is Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who also got some got some interest from West Ham earlier on in the window. They've made a formal approach for the player, but Chelsea have turned around and said, look, if it ain't the 30 million valuation that we're put on him, which is what we paid for him, then we're not interested. We actually value the player, which I kind of get. You know, when he first come into the club, a lot of people were saying this is a very pointless signing, and I was one of those people as well. Players, you know, wish I was. I was one of them people as well who thought, you know, this is a pointless signing. Why are we signing Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall? That's just to satisfy Enzo Maresca because he helped him come up from the Prem, you know. Didn't think he'd ever be good enough. But I think the more that he's played throughout the season, I think he has proved that he can be good enough in the role that he's undertaking. He's a very good squad player. He's very reliable. And there's some value in this player. So he's been disrespected all season, to be honest, but you know, Enzo Maresca can trust him. He's happy with the role himself. Why should we disrupt that? He's a very good squad player and we can rely on him. So, in all honesty, I wouldn't mind if he stayed. But if we can recoup the fee for him, then I'll understand why we would let him go. So, again, another one to watch out for over the next week or so. One deal that did happen, one outgoing. It's funny, all the names that I've discussed so far, none of them have actually gone yet. But one player that did go is Mamadou Sarr to Strasbourg. Now, when I first heard the news of this, I questioned it. I put it all over my X account or Twitter, and I was like, "This is a pointless. What was the point in the first place? Why did we sign the player, take him to the Club World Cup, didn't play him? I think he got like 20 minutes in one game. We took Paez with us, and we didn't even bother giving him a chance to play when Sarr's just gone to Strasbourg. Now apparently Paez is going to Strasbourg as well, but I haven't seen anything formally. So at first I thought this is just what a waste of a signing. Now I do understand it. I do understand why we're sending him out on loan. It does make sense. It's going to be good for the player. Obviously Strasbourg, he played for Strasbourg, got a lot of minutes for Strasbourg, so you know it does make sense that he does go back out there and get his minutes because he's not going to get it here. So all about his development. This is the best option for him in terms of his value. This is the best option for him. So my initial response was, what a waste of time this was. But it was only when someone broke it down to me, they said, listen, he had a fantastic season at Strasbourg, and then he had other clubs interested in him. So whilst the value is low, Chelsea, the best option is to make the bid now, buy him now, send him back on loan. The reason he got brought into the Club World Cup was so Enzo Maresca could watch him and see where he fits into the team right now. Enzo Maresca's obviously said, nope, he needs to develop a little bit more, send him out on loan. So that's what we've done now. It does make sense to buy the player whilst his value is low, because if we didn't, I was saying, why don't we just leave him? Why did we spend that money now when we could have spent that money on the first team? You know, that was my initial point. Why spend 12 million? I know it's only 12 million, but it's money that counts. Why spend £12 million on a future investment when we could have spent that £12 million on the first team now, knowing that we was just going to send him out on loan to Strasbourg? But it does make sense. We signed him when his value was low. If he did stay at Strasbourg for another year and his value rose to like £40 million, we'd end up forking out £40 million. So it does make sense. I get why we've done this. So in the end, I agree that this is quite a good deal for club and player. One other player that's potentially, and I haven't heard anything else since I first heard this. This was on Monday that I heard this. Slonina is looking at moving to Brest. That's a team in Ligue 1, by the way. Haven't heard anything since. So whether or not that's developing at all, haven't heard anything. I've Googled it, checked it on X, haven't seen nothing. And that pretty much wraps up Chelsea's transfer news over the past week. It's been a little bit quiet in terms of incomings. Obviously, we've got the two main ones that we know that we're trying to get over the line. But it's starting to quiet down a little bit with the players that we're linked with, and you know the signings that we're trying to make. I think we're nearly there. Now, it doesn't look like we're going to be going in for a goalkeeper, one position that we thought that we all wanted. If we get Hato, I think that's going to be the left back, centre back, backup options there for Cucurella. Get Xavi Simons, that's the other attacking player that we need. I think that's it, really. Obviously, I would have loved to have gone in for Isaac, but the more that I sit here and think about it, the more I don't think it would be a good deal for us. We'd end up spending £150 million on one player when we could potentially sign 2 or 3. He'd be on ridiculous wages. He's asking for 300k a week, so we'd end up breaking our wage structure just for him to fit in the team. Obviously, he'd be a fantastic signing, don't get me wrong. He would come in and he'd be fantastic. But we've done our signings already, so it could disrupt everything that we're trying to do. Now, it sounds brilliant signing Isaac. It sounds brilliant. But the more you actually sit back and think about it, I don't know. Like, would it? Do you know what I mean? Would it really help us in the long run? The only other issue is that he's going to go to a rival, and that's going to kill us. If he goes to Liverpool, you might as well write the season off, because I can't see any other team like winning the league with what they're doing at the moment. So we're going to touch base on the rivals anyway. So obviously the big news coming out today is Victor Gyökeres for Arsenal has signed. They've done the revealing video. He is an Arsenal player. So a big one, obviously. In terms of strikers, probably the most potent one out of there over the last couple of seasons, scoring goals galore, and Arsenal get their man. One thing I would say is it doesn't seem like many clubs actually went in for him. I know Man United were sneaking around trying to get the deal done. Obviously, Amorim links. They had no chance over Arsenal, let's be honest. The deal did stall quite a bit. It did take a while. Obviously, they had a nuisance with their agent and the club, but they've got the deal done. Eventually, I mean, if you're trying to do deals with Sporting Lisbon and that's what you're getting, boy, I wouldn't be doing deals with them again. So, but Arsenal get their man now. That's obviously strengthened them big time. They've been missing the number 9 striker. Apparently, he's getting the number 14. They've been missing a striker for years, for absolutely years. Now, this could be the thing that elevates them to the next step. Now, the next step for Arsenal is winning the league. Yeah, I'm going to say that, because you look at their defence, they've been solid in defence for the past 2 seasons. That's pretty much sorted. Their midfield, they're adding to it, but they're getting rid of players as well. It's all about balance in that midfield. But they're still looking to add to that with Eze, which they're looking at potentially getting over the line next week. Now, as I have previously said, although I do put a disclaimer out that I'm not an ITK, I have heard that this deal has already been done for weeks. It's already been done, but they're just refusing to release the deal. So Eze is looking like the next one that they're going to be bringing out. Now, if they do sign Eze, I think that's probably going to be one of their most important signings, because he's such a good attacking player and he'll offer so much in terms of rotation for all the other players, etc, etc. And you've sorted out your front line, your midfield is getting sorted out, the back line is sorted. You've got a goalkeeper there that's had a clean sheet, the clean sheet record over the last 2 years. Obviously, last season was joint. This could be the one. This could be the signing that takes you to that step forward, finishing all them chances, scoring the goals. So let's see what that does for Arsenal. Me personally, I do think that is going to elevate them. Do I think they're going to win the league? It's going to be a toss-up between them and Liverpool in my eyes. Everyone will probably say Man City for the dealings that they've done. But watching them, to me, it just feels like there's still something missing with them, if I'm honest with you. Which is, not normal for a Man City team. When you watch them, I just feel like they're missing something still. And I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's just they're missing the talent that they've had over the last years or so. Another signing that Arsenal made this week was Mosquera. That got officially unveiled. The young centre-back, talented centre-back as they say. I don't know much about him. Obviously he plays in Spain. I don't watch Spanish football unless it's like the El Clasico. So can't really tell you much about Mosquera, but obviously he's highly rated and Arsenal fans are excited about him. The other links that I have seen obviously Isak. That one's just common sense. I think everybody was linked with Isak for the last week or so. When he come out and said that he wanted to leave, it's pretty much been Liverpool since then. Was Anthony Gordon. Arsenal have been linked with Anthony Gordon. Apparently they started moving their attention towards him, but I don't think that one's going to go anywhere. I think that's just a rumour that's been floating around there. I don't think that's going to develop anywhere. Newcastle, when you want to start talking about teams, are having a torrid time, a real torrid time when it comes to transfers. But anyway, we're going to move on to Liverpool. Now, Liverpool have done an absolute madness the whole window, signing Kirkes, signing Wirtz, signing Frimpong, signing Ekitike now. Obviously, that was the deal that went through last week. Ekitike for 90-something million. Crazy. Apparently, it wasn't 90 million. It was like 70 or something with add-ons. And again, it's the players that they're linked with. Rodrigo, for example, they're monitoring his situation. Obviously, they're saying that he can be sold. And then obviously Isak comes out with this news this past week or so. Back in for him, hands in a transfer request. I want to leave. Now I thought he was going Saudi because I heard the Saudis were putting bids in, and it was turning his head. They were putting in big offers for his contract, and it's come out today that he's turned down the Saudi offers and he's saying he wants Liverpool. Now that's a big move, and if Liverpool get him, like I've said, season is done, because that attack will be absolutely ridiculous. Now, one of the outgoings that they're talking about is Luis Diaz. Now, Bayern Munich are putting bids for the player around 75 million euros, and I've said they're not going to go above 80, which, do you know what I mean? This is a problem, because if they sell, I mean, everybody's talking about how Liverpool are affording these players, yeah? You've got to think, top of the league, TV revenue, top of the Champions League, 10 million spent in the last year or so, £4 million net profit, player sales, and they sell Diaz as well for 75 million. You're looking at about a £400 million window that they're able to spend, which is nuts. So they can look at names like Isak, they can look at names like Rodrigo, they can offer big contracts to the Virgil van Dijks and the Mo Salahs, they can offer a big contract to Ekitike, they can offer a big contract for Isak if he turns up. The team that they are building is there to dominate football. It's not just there to dominate domestically. They're building a serious team. They've tasted success with the Premier League. Slot on his first season, and now they're going for it. This is a big signing. If they can pull this one off, it is going to be massive. And what it does for their team, it wins them the league. I'm not going to lie. Now, when you look at their approach, they've slightly done the same thing as Chelsea in terms of they've turned their attention to younger players, but they're buying the expensive young players that are already balling out now, not the ones that, you know, you're going to buy for some money that have potential to do better. They're buying the ones that are balling out now, your Frimpongs, your Wirtz. Ekitike, I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's done enough to, you know, validate that transfer fee, but nonetheless, obviously he's got a big buzz around him at the moment, and they've paid the fee and they've got him. So they get Isak again. As I said, it's done. It is absolutely done. Moving on to Manchester United over the last week, they've finally signed someone again. Obviously they signed Cunha, but now they've signed Mbeumo, 65 million plus 5 million add-ons, 70 million. That's a good signing, I'm not going to lie. The announcement was done. I do think it was a bit overvalued, but if you want the player, you sign the player. If they value the player at 70 million, you've got to pay the fee. It is what it is at the end of the day. So he's going to add to their attack. Now, I think that's a fantastic signing, I'm not going to lie. I've always rated Mbeumo. So this is going to be good for Manchester United. I still think they need a lot more work done on their team. I feel like they need a centre mid. They definitely need a goalkeeper. I do feel like maybe potentially left back, but they have got Luke Shaw and Dorgu there. But I kind of feel like they need to move away from Luke Shaw now and focus on, you know, moving on from him. They need a 6, in my opinion, that's able to pick up the ball and play with it. I know this player is not a 6, and I said this in the group chat earlier. They should be trying to sign Tonali, in my opinion, from Newcastle. But we're going to get to Newcastle in a minute because that's just going to be another player that people are trying to poach from them. The players that they've been linked with, Watkins, obviously they made an offer apparently last week on Thursday. Haven't heard anything since. Obviously they do need a striker. Their striker department's not good enough at the moment. And obviously the links with Nicholas Jackson are still there. Nothing has progressed towards the end of this week, but them links are still not going away. So a little bit quiet on the Manchester United front, but I still think there's a chain of events that are about to open up when certain deals get done. Newcastle, moving on to them, they're having a torrid time. Isaac wants to leave. They've missed out on João Pedro. They've missed out on Trafford. They've missed out on Buemo. They've missed out on Cunha. This is not looking good for them. They're now linked with Nicholas Jackson and Chelsea. Obviously, we're going to see them sell. This might work in our favour, to be fair. We're going to see them sell Isaac for 150 million and we're going to demand 100 million for Nicholas Jackson. Now, whether or not we get that, if we get 80 million, we're going to be laughing. So, this is a situation that might benefit us. Now, I actually think Nicholas Jackson will suit Newcastle United. I actually do. I think he would actually go there and bang. Now, I don't think he's shit, Nicholas Jackson. I think he's just a little bit brain dead and he lacks a little bit of tech. But he hasn't been playing football professionally for that long. So I do actually think he's a player that can improve and do well. Would I keep him? Yes, for squad depth. Do I think he's going to get a lot of minutes this year? Yes, I actually do. Do I think we should rely on him? No, because he's just a nightmare sometimes. And we've seen 2 seasons of it, and we know we cannot rely on him. So I do actually think João Pedro will probably be the one that we do end up relying on. But I still think Jackson will get his minutes. But it's up to him to prove himself to the club again, because he's come out and said he's willing to do that. I like that mentality, and that's what I want to see from him. So again, one to watch out for. It seems like we're open for bids. We'll be willing to let him go. Obviously, Manchester United are still in the mix. I've seen Aston Villa in the mix for him, and now we're seeing Newcastle now being invited into the conversations, obviously, as they're looking to get rid of Isaac. Again, Newcastle in the striker department. Sesko, obviously, his transfer value has been reduced from 100 million to 60 to 70 million. Now, a bit of a strange one, man. I think their club fucked him around a little bit, to be honest. And he was coming with some crazy demands for Arsenal. So I kind of feel like he's messed up his own transfer this window. Obviously, they've now dropped his value in an attempt to try and get rid of him. And Newcastle are one of those that are potentially interested. Obviously, they're going to need to fill that number 9 space with someone that needs to come in straight away and perform exactly how Isaac is. I mean, they're getting rid of their best player at the end of the day. They've had a flipping horrible transfer window. The thing is, though, I do kind of feel like we're going to be waking up a silent giant, if I'm honest with you. Not a giant, but one that can grow into a giant, that's for sure. Because 150 million, what that does for fair play is, well, PSR, whatever you want to call it, is going to be ridiculous. I think in the space of 3 years, you're able to lose 105 million. Add the 150 on that, that's, now we're talking, And they haven't signed anyone yet, really. Who knows what they can spend this window. You could be looking at another club now that could potentially go on a spending spree, but the problem is they're just not getting any of their targets. I think a good player that they should potentially go in for is Matoma, if I'm honest with you. I don't know why anybody's not put a bid in for him, but I think that would be quite a good purchase for them. Obviously they've got Anthony Gordon, but I think Matoma would be quite a good addition for them. But yeah, moving on, Manchester City signed James Trafford the other day. I think it was on Friday for £40 million. I think it was a buyback. I think he had a buyback clause in for him. Obviously messing up Newcastle's plan to get another goalkeeper. And then the big one is Rodri's been linked away to £100 million bid to Real Madrid as of Thursday. Nothing formal yet, and I think them sources are coming from Real Madrid accounts. So obviously they might be trying to push for that midfielder, whereas nobody has had anything formal. So whether or not that one produces or goes anywhere, we'll have to see. Now, moving on to some of the players. Obviously, we spoke about David Hancho signing for Atletico, cheaper option than Renato Vega, and the only other one that I've got is Pervez Estepinian from Brighton. Sorry, I can't get my words out. has signed for AC Milan, 19 million euros, quite a low fee. I mean, 2 seasons ago we were looking at this player being the best left back in the Premier League at the time. So, you know, injuries have hampered him. His value's been reduced, and what could have been potentially £40 million player is going for quite cheap, in my opinion. And I'm quite surprised Brighton let him go, to be fair. I thought he's obviously they've been playing someone else in his absence, but I thought this guy was a very good player. But obviously he's signed for AC Milan now, who actually beat Liverpool today. I don't know if you've seen that. If you did see that, you'd think, fucking hell, this team ain't winning the league. They look so slow defending. So if you're doing a low block and you're hitting them on the counter, I think you've seen how you're going to beat Liverpool this season. A couple stinkers in there from Kirkez and the new goalkeeper Mamersh, something like that. So yeah, but anyway, listen, in terms of all the transfer news, that's me done. I haven't got anything else, so I'll keep count obviously over the next week and see what comes up, and we'll be here next week with all the news coming out over the next week or so. So if you are tuning in, hit the like button as I said at the start of the video, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and help this channel grow. But thanks for tuning in, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.